Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today to talk about something I am super passionate about, picture book biographies. But not just any picture book biographies, ones that are innovative, dynamic, and engaging for our student readers across grades, reading level, and interests. First things first, a few things about me. My name is Arissa Dameron, and I'm a children's librarian in DC with an undergrad in English. Even though I work in children's, I read pretty widely because I'm also the current chair of the Andrew Carnegie Medals for Excellence in Fiction and Nonfiction. Between my job, my award work, and the magazines I review for, I read pretty much everything but true YA right now, which I do miss. I first got really into studying picture book biographies when it became my niche with the magazines I reviewed for. I kept seeing them come across my desk, and I was so intrigued by some and so put off by others. Some had me weeping, others had me rolling my eyes, and I decided to really drill down into what I was seeing. As a librarian, and I'm sure many of you have felt this, I feel like I have struggled to sell biographies to my readers outside of assignments for school or parental oversight. I experimented with different displays, which we'll talk about later, to some success, but what it really comes down to is figuring out what excites me as a reader of biographies and what grabs the attention and hearts of readers. Picture book biographies have a unique opportunity to spread across age ranges and demographics, and the right one can be magic for a reader. First, let's talk about non-engaging, non-dynamic, non-innovative picture book biographies. I'm sure we can all think of several, and this isn't an attack on them necessarily, but because for so many of them, they're doing exactly what was asked of them by generations of publishers and expectations to just serve up information, toss in some illustrations, and call it an informational text. Did they offer that information? Absolutely. But it doesn't get retained and doesn't get taken beyond the book when the other elements of it are non-engaging. This, for me, is multifold. I like their traditional picture book biographies sometimes, but I'm also an older reader and a more confident reader, and not reading them to learn about a person for the first time, but to further my knowledge and explore them in a different way. A few things that stand out to me as making a picture book biography a bit of a flop for student readers are non-specific characterization or writing, non-delineation of text from illustration, or a text to illustration ratio that does not fit the audience. We're seeing people who look like the time they are in, and therefore a student might not be engaged. We're seeing flat characters. We're seeing text that kind of blends into the background because it's just plopped right on top of a full background and not set apart. We're seeing characters who don't look different from each other. We're seeing huge blocks of text that are just kind of scary to the reader. Can anyone think of anything else they've experienced in a picture book biography that turns them off? Inaccuracy, absolutely. This is harder as an adult reader, absolutely. But kids also know what they know. And if they see something wrongly attributed or stated in a book about their favorite celebrity or character, they're going to tell you about it. Text bleeding into an illustration, of course, yeah. Dark text on a darkish background, why? Especially for developing readers, that contrast is really important. So here in this one about Prudence Wright, I actually really like the way they set the text apart. So some of the images I've pulled here on this slide are actually from books I enjoyed to a degree, but I believe they could have been better and better for student readers with a more innovative or dynamic approach. Let's look, though, at what makes a picture book biography dynamic, innovative, and engaging. Strong characters. This isn't just about choosing a good subject. It's about making them come to life on the page. Give them dialogue, give them conflict, comedy, and make them want to be someone you learn about. Narrative plot. Do not just be a timeline. Incorporate a timeline, sure, but have an overarching theme, a frame narrative. How did they get there? Times they spoke up. It makes it far more likely to stick in the mind of a reader if there's some sort of narrative string pulled throughout. Engaging illustrations. Do not just rely on real life photos or caricatures of or crowd shots, utilize a multitude of perspectives, settings, some sparse backgrounds, some more detailed, etc. Text used smartly. Do not info dump in huge paragraphs. Break the text up throughout the page and require the eye to move around to keep reading. Use dialogue when it's appropriate, but don't make the entire thing a conversation. Don't put into words what could be better done in illustration. Legible text. Don't sacrifice your prose into the dark depths of the illustrations. Separate the text, use a color that pops against the illustrations, or use a boxed area. Specificity to subject. Make artistic biographies resemble the art of the artist. Write in verse for poetry, or otherwise capture the subject's voice. End papers. Start the engagement from the second you open the book and carry it till the end. Make the end papers a hint or a wink towards something about the subject. A standout cover. Don't look like an encyclopedia entry. Don't use a photo. Pitch the engagement. Pitch why this book isn't like the others. Show how specific you're going to get about your subject. Audience engagement. Find ways to engage the audience throughout. Ask questions, give ideas for art projects or writing prompts. Next steps. Leave the reader ready to do something else, to research more, to talk to an adult about the subject, to try a specific type of art, etc. Of course, not every picture book biography is going to hit on every single one of these aspects, and they don't need to be great, but a good one will hit on several. Let's look at a few examples that you should add to your biography sections, I think, and then discuss ways to promote biographies in dynamic and innovative ways, regardless of what's inside the cover. She Sang for the Mountains, the story of singer, songwriter, activist Jean Ritchie. This lyrical picture book biography of songwriter and activist Jean Ritchie Singer traces her life from the Cumberland Mountains of Kentucky to New York City and beyond, as her protest songs inspired a nation. The author and illustrator previously teamed up for the stunning biography Saving Granddaddy's Stories, Ray Hicks, The Voice of Appalachia. What I really love about this title isn't just that it's about someone you might not know about, but that the unique artwork draws the reader in and keeps them on their toes, looking for little hints about the story. The illustrations are made of clay, paper, and even coal, which is a great nod to the narrative. The end papers are gorgeous, and there's even a second secret cover under the jacket. While not explicitly invoked in the text, a great next step for a book like this is to listen to Ritchie's music or try your own hand at mixed media sculpting. Cut. How Lottie Reiniger and a Pair of Scissors revolutionized animation. Long before Walt Disney, a young woman revolutionized the landscape of animation using light, a pair of scissors, and her imagination. From acclaimed author C.E. Winters and debut illustrator Matt Shue, STEM meets the arts in this engaging nonfiction picture book biography about Lottie Reiniger. Cut is an excellent choice for classrooms and for fans of Hidden Figures, I Dissent, and the Questionnaires books. Similar to She Sang for the Mountains, this book is a great chance to engage with a lesser-known subject. The illustrations are done in the style of Reiniger's work, with cutouts, dark on light, silhouettes. This is engaging and different, and with a clear tie into film today, can invite students to look at how different mediums of entertainment have changed, try their own hand at this work, or to view some of Lottie's films. What the Artist Saw, Vincent van Gogh. He saw the world in vibrant colors. Have you ever wondered exactly what your artists were looking at to make them draw, sculpt, or paint the way they did? In this charming illustrated series, created in full collaboration with the Metropolitan Museum of Art, you can see what they saw and be inspired to create your own artworks too. In the pages of this book, What the Artist Saw, Vincent van Gogh, meet famous Dutch painter Van Gogh, step into his life and learn what led him to paint his eye-catching self-portraits. See the landscapes that inspired his famous wheat fields. Have a go at painting your own sunflowers. These books, a newer series by the Met, are amazing and truly one of the books that inspired this talk. I pulled the Van Gogh one, but they also have ones on Faith Ringgold, Edgar Degas, Claude Monet, Louise Bourgeois, Georgia O'Keeffe, Hokusai, and Frida Kahlo. They are informative, engaging artist biographies. They're illustrated in the style of the artist, which does more to teach about their paintings than a simple information dump ever could. They also are laden with prompts to engage the reader to take next steps. Out of This World, The Surreal Art of Leonora Carrington. A gorgeously illustrated picture book biography about the fascinating life of surrealist artist Leonora Carrington from Michelle Markle and Amanda Hall, the acclaimed team behind the fantastic Jungles of Henry Rousseau. Out of This World is the powerful, stunningly told tale of Leonora Carrington, a girl who made art out of her imagination and created some of the most enigmatic and startling works of the last 80 years. Similar to the What the Artist Saw series, this book on Carrington invokes the artist's style while adding imaginative elements that delight the child reader. The text is kept largely separate from the larger-than-life illustrations so they don't get lost in her imaginative worlds, and features chances to turn the page, read from a different angle, etc. The end papers of this title also elicit the feel of the artist. These are just 4 of the many examples of great recent picture books you should have on your shelves, especially for upper elementary and middle school readers. If there are any other innovative and dynamic picture book biographies that you've read recently, I encourage you to share them in the chat. I want to close us out by talking about ways we can increase circulation of and engagement with picture book biographies, especially the ones that are super dynamic, innovative, engaging, and special. 1. Birthday biographies. Grab a balloon or a party hat and set up a special spot where you feature the biography of a person whose birthday is that day, week, or month. Some obvious ones are Lincoln, MLK, Obama, but why not Louisa May Alcott in late November or Bessie Coleman in January? Have a backup pile or make it an exciting guessing game to see whose birthday will be featured next. Day in the life or living museums. A lot of classrooms do these curricular tie-ins, but why not host it in the library or make it a library-related activity? Use picture book biographies as the jumping off point for research, or invite students to hold a picture book biography of the person they are representing while standing in their museum. Implications of illustration. Why not make a copy of just a little bit of the illustrations of a book and invite readers to guess, figure out, or speculate what is happening? A corner of a famous scene, a quote, maybe an illustrated depiction of a person you're learning about, and then, of course, reveal the book and encourage them to read it. 4. Art classrooms. These are a great way to not only increase circulation of picture book biographies, but to offer new, exciting ways to engage with them. Bring them in to read about an artist. It's one of the best ways to learn about them without being an overwhelming history lesson. And then see if you can see the artist's influence on the illustrations. Perhaps even try your own hand at illustrating a scene or line. Don't be afraid to use these artist biographies with older students as well. High school art history classes and art history and art classes in general often don't have as much time to dive into the history or biography of an author or an artist. So why not tie in a picture book biography? Why not bring in Van Gogh, the Met Van Gogh book that we discussed, before your students learn about sunflowers and try their own hands at self-portraits? Number 5, pair picture book biographies with curricular reads. Many schools read To Kill a Mockingbird. Why not pair it with a picture book biography of Harper Lee? You're not doubling the workload, but you're offering a new way to engage with the text and the source material in a new way. Picture book biographies may not circulate like graphic novels or the best of Eric Carle or be assigned like Newbery and Caldecott winners, but they are unique opportunities for interdisciplinary learning when used effectively. I hope you'll keep your eyes and ears out for dynamic and innovative picture book biographies, advocate for their importance with your student readers, and challenge yourself to find new ways to engage with these books in your own libraries. Please, please, please do not hesitate to reach out to me with any questions, ideas, new books you're loving, etc. I look forward to hearing from some of you, seeing you at other great events, and to taking any questions you might have in the chat. Thank you so much.